Hi everyone. Good evening. I am Janely, Uplifter's Community Building Officer. Thank you for joining me tonight. And I'm so happy to be here with you again. And for those who have just joined us, for those who are new to us, Uplifters is a nonprofit organization empowering underprivileged communities with online education and peer support. We offer a free online money management course for domestic workers. And you just need to click send message on our Facebook page to enroll. This is the 20th episode of our Uplift Your Night series, and we are delighted to be here with you tonight. Our first objective with this Uplift Your Night Facebook Live is to be together. Uplifters is first and foremost a community. Secondly, we want to keep learning together and supporting each other. Let me introduce our topic for tonight. We'll be discussing the importance of sports in personal empowerment, and our guest will also talk about its many benefits and share tips on how to get started. About our guests for tonight, we are very happy to have Alicia Loy and Cecily Radford to discuss this important and interesting topic. So it's a very positive and energizing topic. So I'm very excited for tonight. First, a little something about our guest. Alicia Loy is the founder of Women in Sports Empowered HK or YSHK, a charitable institution that champions sports for women and girls in Hong Kong. Cecily Radford is the program manager for WISE. WISE aims to educate and raise awareness for why sports matter to women and girls and encourages them to participate in sports through their various initiatives. So, let's welcome Alicia and Cecily to our broadcast. Hi, Alicia
Hi.
and Cecily. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, so
Hi, good
happy to be
evening.
here.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, too. And it's an honor to have you with us tonight. So, please feel free to share a bit more about yourselves and your work at WISE before we share with the audience what we have on the menu for tonight.
Sure.
Um,
Sis, do you
yeah,
want to go ahead?
Sure, yeah, I can go first. So my name, as you can see there, is Cecily, but most people call me Sis. It's a bit of an easier name. I've been working for WISE for about 8 months now, but before that, I was a volunteer for almost 2 years. My role really with WISE is just to work on the different programs that we do. So we try to run programs that reach different target audiences within Hong Kong. We do mother and daughter. We do kind of teenage age, sort of youth. And more recently, we've started doing families rather than mother and daughter, but more sort of families. And now we're looking at between youth and adults, so the sort of university age, sort of early 20s age. So we're trying to cover all bases. So my role really is just to sort of plan and prepare those programs, work with our different volunteers, and try to make some impactful programs. That's my role at WISE.
Right. I'm Alicia. I started the organization about 4 years ago now, and time flies. It's actually 4.5 years. So aside from what Sis does, focusing more on programs, I also look a bit more at the strategy and more recently trying to get more resources and support for Y so that we can continue our work. But really, the most enjoyable part of what I do is, of course, running the sports activities and engaging all the women and girls in what we do. I just absolutely love that because I don't, um, for me, I think the term sports can be quite scary. So we always try to make it fun, inclusive, to be supportive and encouraging. And really, for us, we try to embed a culture that everyone can participate, regardless of your background, your skill, your interest. Because we really think that there's a sport out there, and part of what we try to do as part of our mission is really try to create opportunities and exposure to a variety of sports, so that you can really try what works for you. And what doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Alicia and Cecily. Thank you so much. And yeah, thank you for the work that you're doing at WISE. And yes, it's very empowering. And it's tonight's topic is women empowerment through sports. Let's get started with the many benefits of sports. But before we start, I would like to say to those of you who are watching us, please do not hesitate to say hi in the comments. Let us know you're here, and post your questions to our guest in the comments. And yeah, just anything that you want to ask, want to know about how to get started, how to in doing sports, about your questions, just please feel free to put in the comments, and we'll do our best to reply to them. So yes, I mentioned, I think anyone who has ever played or participated in sports, or played a game, yeah, can attest to how if one can feel happier, lighter, and just so many benefits. Um, I would like to ask you both, because you're the experts and the pros in this field. Yeah, how can sports help us both physically and mentally?
Yeah, I
Maybe,
think
yeah,
there are, as you mentioned, generally there are so many benefits. We would be here all night if we were talking about the benefits. I think we'll start with physically. You know, in terms of your physical health, just by getting your heart rate up a little bit every day is really good for your body. It's good for your joints and your blood pressure and that sort of thing. But I think specifically for the audience that we're talking with today, being able to get a bit stronger physically, I think building some muscle can really help in everyday life, with work, with running errands, you know, even sometimes, you know, in Hong Kong, you know, walking around with shopping bags, lifting children up. I used to work in a kindergarten, like lifting children up, and you know, just getting a bit of a stronger back, a stronger core can be really beneficial for your health, avoiding injuries, that sort of thing. Um, Aside from physically, there are loads and loads of benefits. So there's also social benefits to being involved in
Mhm.
sport. So getting out, meeting new groups, getting new connections, new friends. Also, you know, we're so lucky in Hong Kong with the environment we live in. Sport's a really great way to learn about Hong Kong, to see a new side of Hong Kong, discover new areas. Um, so there's social benefits as well. Just getting out and about in nature is really good for our mental health. Um,
Mhm.
and also mentally, you know, sport I find really helps me when I'm quite tired, just by doing even, you know, a quick 20-minute or 15-minute stretch in the morning, just kind of moving my body, you know, energizes me. But, you know, in replacing sort of coffee with something like, you know, a very quick yoga flow or stretch is really
Yeah.
beneficial. And then on the flip of that, it can really help you to sleep if you do a little bit of sport before going to bed. Well, when I say sport, I mean a quick stretch, maybe a quick, you know, wind down from the day. It's been a long day on your feet. Just taking the time to sit down and just kind of tune into your body can really help with your sleep. It can help relieve stress, relieve tension. So I think they're the main benefits, and I guess all of those together can improve someone's confidence, which is one of the huge benefits from sport. You know,
Mhm.
being more confident, pushing yourself to try new things, push your limits a little bit. Yeah, I guess kind of out of our comfort zones, meet new people is really good for our confidence. So yeah, there's kind of a whistle stop tour of some benefits, but there are lots and lots and lots.
Mm. Well, I can't even imagine that I can, yeah, just type them and show them in the screen, because there's so many. Yeah, I like what you said about it. It helps you sleep better, and just to keep moving,
Mhm.
and just to strengthen your core, and it helps you do physical activities, and to just the social benefits of connecting with others and being in nature can help
Yeah.
us mentally. I'm sure you agree, Alicia, with
Yeah.
what you said.
I really, I definitely agree with everything that Sis and yourself just mentioned. And a lot of sport is, I mean, when we think of sports, we typically sometimes think of sports like running or team sports like, I don't know, football, or maybe
Mhm.
even recently there were Olympics. So we would think of things like swimming or cycling. But really, if we break down sports into something more simpler, there's a lot of movement that are functional movements, things
Mm-hmm.
like squatting, which I'm sure everyone uses a lot in their daily life. Like Sis mentioned, maybe sometimes you have to pick up kids. So instead of bending over and just lifting,
Mm-hmm.
which is bad for your back, actually squatting and then lifting is better. All of these functional movements are actually um, can support anyone in a work context so that they have more. Less risk of injury and more longevity in kind of their working life. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of benefits to sports.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it builds confidence, like going out there and just pushing yourself, and yeah, and achieving your goal. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's really great. And we always say it in our free online course on money management, personal growth, and mental health, Dare to Dream, that taking care of one's health is an investment for your future, and it's the keeping your good physical health excellent. It's the foundation to achieving your life goals. So yeah,
Yeah.
physical health. It's a priority,
Mental health.
but yeah,
Yeah. Because
and
I mean, the physical, the physical body and the mind are so connected. So when you have a strong physical body, your mind will also get stronger. When your mind is stronger, your body will also get stronger. So definitely, it's all interconnected. And something you've mentioned a few times, both of you, about confidence building, empowering. I mean, there's so much joy to seeing you
mm,
be able to do something that you never thought you could have done. Or there's also so much excitement and so much fun to just have a bit of adventure and explore.
mm,
Explore what your body can do. Use sports as an avenue to explore new places. For example, running to a new area you've never been to, but also exploring what your mind is capable of pushing yourself to
mm.
do.
Wow. I think we need another episode to to talk about the mind body connection and how sports is the perfect way to achieve that. So I'm going to just screen some of the comments, if you don't mind. We have Veronica, one of our students. She
Oh,
says, "Good evening, Veronica. Happy
hello,
Thursday."
Veronica.
We have Jasmine, our mentor from Singapore. Good evening, Jasmine.
Hi, Jasmine.
Hope you're having a nice evening. Nels is also from our team leader in Singapore. And she says hello. And we have Heidi, also from Singapore.
Ah,
Thank you so much, everyone. And Eileen, she's in Hong Kong. And Julie, also our team leader in Singapore. And hi, Lucille. Thank you for joining us. Aljan, thank you. Good evening.
thank
And
you so much.
Nell says, thanks, Cecily. Great tips and advice. And thank
So,
you, Nelly. So yeah, you mentioned about incorporating, I think, movement. How it's very important. Just maybe just start small, but can you give us examples of ways that domestic workers can practice sports and integrate it into their lives? So yeah.
right. Well, I mean, we had a chat about this, and as we've mentioned, there's always, if you don't already have a habit of doing it, start small. So it can start with, a few minutes of maybe yoga, stretching, core movement, follow a yoga class, hit class online for a few minutes before night, before you go to bed, after work, or
Mhm.
before you start for the day. So if you start of the day, is a great way to help you focus. If you do it at night, it's a great way to unwind, help support your sleep. And then we know many, domestic workers in Hong Kong don't have a lot of either space. So it's very important to identify something that is doable in a small space, but also
Mm-mm.
because they don't have a lot of time um, to do it, like their one day off, there's
Mm-mm.
only one day in the week, then that day maybe you can start with something a bit longer, 20 minutes to build up, going to 45 minutes. I mean, but it's always very important to um, know your own body and be
Mm-mm.
aware of not trying to push yourself to do too much if you don't already have that habit. So taking it easy, but also like increasingly, I'm not sure about the situation in Singapore. I'm sorry for some of you who are listening to us from Singapore, but in Hong Kong, what's been nice is there are more sports teams that have spots open or teams catered to domestic workers on the weekend. So sometimes when we go to the Central Piers on a Sunday, you see yoga classes, you see HIIT classes, there's the rugby with Valley, there's dragon boats, there's
Mm-mm.
volleyball. So I think that there are some opportunities. I would still say that there aren't many opportunities, but increasingly, I think that um, there's interest. And actually, I work at a hiking app by day, and when I go hiking on the weekends, I see so many like helper communities going hiking, and it's so fun
Mm-mm.
to see. And I know many now groups also just through exposure who use it as a great way to explore Hong Kong and kind
Yeah.
of like explore the city that they call home while they're here for a few years, and helps them
Mm-mm.
to not just build the community but build that connection to Hong Kong. And many of them have started like contributing in other ways beyond the sports, like trail cleanups and whatnot. So
Mm-mm.
it's really, I think it's cool. But yeah, I hope that just gives some ideas of how to get started. And actually, I mean, I think that the domestic worker community is very strong in itself. You just mentioned there's
Mm-mm.
like Facebook groups and whatnot, but we're also here. I mean, if people have more questions, they can reach out to Sis and I afterwards, and we can give some um, connect. Because maybe connect to the teams, but maybe connect to resources if you need, give some ideas on venues if someone wants to start
Mm-mm.
their own tips, or even if they're looking for workout videos to do at home on their own, we can give some suggestions and ideas actually.
Yeah, thanks, Alicia. And I'm just going to screen the name of your organization. So it's Women Sports Empowered HK, and this is their website, wisewomenhk.com, and this is their Facebook page, Wise Hong Kong. So yeah, be wise. Thank you so much for that. But just wondering, would there be some sports that are easier than others to access for domestic workers living in Hong Kong?
um, I would definitely say in any sport, actually, individual sports that you can do on your own time. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to coordinate with other people to do is probably the easiest to get started. It relies more on some self motivation and self discipline to actually get going. And once you've gotten into a rhythm, then it's easier. But to some extent, starting with an individual sport is
Mm-hmm.
often less scary because you don't have someone else looking at you, or you don't, have to necessarily feel you're comparing
Mm-hmm.
yourself. But
Yeah.
that can also be less fun. So we
Mm-hmm.
like doing it with other people, as we mentioned earlier, is kind of partly the community, the fun. If you're just doing it, and you want to have a good laugh and be in the company of other
Mm-hmm.
people, then definitely team sports. We just mentioned that there are some sports that are opening up, um, spaces or teams that support domestic workers. So definitely, if we already know or you already know an existing sport, that that has an opportunity can reach out to that. But I also think that there are many other sports associations or sports team who would probably be interested in it. They may not just have thought about it because no one asked them about it. And so I think that what's important is also, if someone is interested in it, to don't be afraid to ask and keep asking until someone says yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and thanks again, Alicia. I'm just going to, yeah, for those who are watching in Singapore, we have organizations like Race to Share. They provide skills development and training in dragon boat and multi sports, and yeah, they have active domestic workers paddlers who compete in local major races in Singapore. So yes, please check it out if you're interested in training in dragon boat. And there's also Help Her Do Better. It's in Singapore. That yeah, they have activities like yoga, hikes, wellness workshops, boot camps, and so many others. And as you said, it's participating in this or getting into sports is not does not only help you physically, mentally, but um, yeah, it can also help you uh, connect with your community and have fun at the same time, and like do some word if you want to contribute to a worthwhile cause, like cleaning up the beaches and
Yeah, exactly.
okay.
There's many, and especially when you're new to a place as well, right? Maybe you're moving somewhere new for work, or traveling to a new place, even just for a short period of time. And Alicia will say the same as well. It's the same for both of us. Sport has been the way we've made friends in every new place we've been to, meet like-minded people. Definitely for me, I'm a team and a people person. Like I'm motivated by others.
Yeah.
I'm much better at working out and exercising when I'm doing it with somebody else. I'm doing it with a group. So yeah, there's many benefits to it, but certainly it's just a really great way to meet different people, hang out with different people.
Yes, I think we have a question here, but she doesn't have a name. Do you mind sharing your favorite sports? They have, yeah, favorite sport and your tips.
Go on, Alicia, you go first.
Right now, I play a sport called Ultimate Frisbee. I used to play it more seriously than I have in the past 2 years. It's a 7-on-7 sport, and so it's definitely a team sport. I've been playing for 16 years or so. But in the past year, I started more trail running and hiking a lot around Hong Kong, and partly because of the pandemic. So fields were closed, and it allowed me to access something that I probably wouldn't have done so much of before, but I love it. I love being in nature, aside from when it's really hot right now and it's hard to go out for a long period of time. But I grew up with a lot of sports, so swimming, figure skating, horse riding, football, basketball. I'm definitely like Sissa said, I'm definitely more of a team sport person. I used to figure skate and have to compete on my own, and I really don't like all eyes on one person when you're on the ice skating rink. I love the team sport aspect because not only because you're not the only one on the field, but I love the teamwork, the communication, kind of learning to be supportive of each other, learning how to understand each other from each other's perspective. I think those are very, not just in a sport context, but in daily life, very important skills. So I love, for me, the team sports, because for me is a reflection of kind of what I need on a daily basis. Yeah. Sis?
Yeah,
Yes.
my favorite sport is football, soccer. That's my favorite sport. I play it and I watch it and I coach it as well. I love it a lot. So if anybody would like to play football with a beginners team, we have a beginners women's team. They try to get together once a week. But I'd say actually, I was thinking as Alicia was talking there, since COVID, football really stopped, and I wasn't training. Same for all team sports. I wasn't training, wasn't playing any games. So I really took up some new interests. I would have, before COVID, I would have said I hate running. Right? I despise it. But I got really into running. I really enjoy running. I just kind of turned some of my hikes and my walks into little runs that kind of developed into bigger runs. And then I've got really into stretching recently. I'm trying to get more flexible. I'm reading about the benefits of stretching and being flexible. So I'm trying to do a bit of stretching every day, a bit of yoga, a bit of running. So yeah, mainly football, but trying to not just streamline myself to football. So I do a few other bits as well. But it all helps with the football, the stretching, the running, it all helps. So, football is mine, yeah.
So, I mean, something that I think we always say, Sis has mentioned, I mentioned a little bit, it's actually sport, it's better to be doing different types of sport. It's actually better for your body, your muscle groups to do different types of sports so that you can build strength, agility, mobility, flexibility. Because actually, if you keep playing one sport all the time and it's the only thing you ever do, it's actually very easy to overwork the same muscle groups, and then it can be easier to hurt yourself. So I think that when you ask, all the sports that are easier to do than others, I think it's also really important to think about getting exposure to a variety of different sports and incorporating it into kind of a routine or some sort of schedule. And anyway, as we said earlier, trying different sports is actually really fun. I mean, it's nice to stick to one sport and have that core community and core like by sticking to one sport and getting better at that, there's the empowering aspect of it and building the confidence. But then the other side of it is really the exploration that we mentioned earlier. As well.
Thanks, Alicia. That's a great tip. So to our viewers, just keep exploring and find something enjoyable for you.
Yeah,
I'm sure you'd find it. And I can imagine that COVID has impacted team sports. So thanks, Cecily, for that tip too. You said that you got into running and to adapt to the situation and just keep moving.
And your feelings towards something can change. Honestly, when I tell you 2 years ago I hated running, I really mean it. But today I was like, what time can I go for a run?
You got me inspired there. So
Oh, good.
So it's always good to get out of our comfort zone.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly.
And that's all. That's what we also say in our in Dare to Dream that action builds confidence. So just do it. Start small, and the important thing is to start. And you'll have fun because this is sports. So I'm just going to show some of the comments we have. Mary Grace, she says she loves volleyball too. I really enjoyed it. She enjoyed it when she was in secondary school.
Hey.
Hi, Mary Grace. Hi, Anne. And Hanile says, shout out to our volleyball teams here in Singapore and cycling. Thanks. Hi, good evening, Vivian. Good evening, Tintin. Maylene. We have many viewers from in Singapore, and we have from here in Hong Kong. Hi, Tornado, and we have Juliana watching from the Philippines.
Nice.
Good evening, Jay. And thank you for the greeting. Okay. So
there's a volleyball league in Hong Kong that I know of, comprising of teams who domestic worker teams, mostly either from the Philippines or Indonesia, maybe a couple from Singapore. And it seems really fun. There are a lot of teams, they have by having competition and getting together with friends, they also get to meet um, other groups from different countries. So I guess when we were saying also the social network, it's also not just a social network from your own country, but also you get make friends with people from other countries. In Hong Kong, for example, even I don't know, like many of us. I'm from Hong Kong, but I've studied overseas. Sis is not from Hong Kong originally, and for us, when we make friends, obviously having that cultural aspect, meeting people from different countries is really an important part of us living in Hong Kong.
Yeah, and it not only yeah, and it not only builds life skills but social skills as well. And yes, let's proceed to our next question. Yeah, something related to what you said, Alicia. Can you share with us examples of domestic workers who have benefited or empowered themselves in their community through sports?
Right. I mean, the ones that I can think of are probably the ones that some of you already know.
Mm-mm.
People like Lisa Avellino, and I think
Mhm.
that you might be speaking to her in a couple of
Yeah.
weeks. But I mean, most people know her as having gone to Mount Everest and scaled many mountains, starting
Mhm.
a dragon boat team, and then now cricket. So very a big advocate of domestic workers to engage in sports while they're in Hong Kong. Someone that we've been engaging with recently in her sports team is Sheik of Share Hong Kong, and she's the one who's been
Mhm.
telling us about the volleyball team. Um, I think you also know the Valley team, and they have the rugby players who
Mm-mm.
play with them, and they can practice on weekends and on Thursdays. But also, like recently, we've been in touch with a trail runner, Tina Lee Fox. There are other teams or physio centers that work
Mhm.
with trail runners like Fredeline Alberto. So I think there
Mhm.
are quite many, and for me to list them out would be I feel it's nice to spotlight them, but I'm
Mm-mm.
so sure that there are other community groups that are doing so much and probably just
Mhm.
don't have their voices heard or they're not really seen as much. And it doesn't mean that they're not doing anything,
Mhm.
because I think what's really important is sport is accessible in some ways to everyone if either they want to do it or um, if they can join a group to do it. Sometimes it's hard to get started if you feel that you're alone, but by joining other people, then maybe you have someone to do it with you, so to make it more fun, take the scare
Mhm.
factor or lonely factor away. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Alicia. And yes, we will spotlight them in our in this month because this month, yes, is, as I said, our topic is women empowerment through sports, and yeah, we will share how they have empowered their community and how uh, it helped them reach their goals,
Yeah.
which is
Um, and I mean, I
many
think it's really
benefits to
great
them.
to have them
Mm-mm.
come and share their stories. For us, we
Yeah.
say to to see other people do it is can be very inspiring, and
Mm-mm.
it's empowering also to be able to share your own story. Um, yeah, but I also what I also wanted to say is um, being inspired by other people, then I hope inspires you to really take action to do
Mm-mm.
something and engage in sport too.
Yes, they're indeed very inspiring. And one of the things that they always say is that it uh, helps them feel included and being part of a community of not just of women, not just women, but yeah, other nationalities as well. Yeah, it really build up their confidence. So yes, please watch out for our features on these inspiring women. Yeah, we have a question. We got a question before we started our this episode. She's asking. One of her members is asking if she is hypertensive, but she wants to join rugby. Yeah, volleyball, and she's afraid. But what can she do? Does she need to go to a doctor, or she just need to monitor her, yeah, her BP, her blood pressure? So yeah, what would you advise them? What would you advise her?
So we're not medical professionals, so it's really hard for us to give concrete advice. Generally, what we would say is if you're afraid, it is better to, at least when you start, maybe go to get a checkup and see that
Mm,
that you're okay. I would say that certain health conditions should not stop you from doing sports, but is
mm,
around managing and understanding what sports are suitable for you to do. So if
mm,
you're worried about playing sports like rugby and football, something a bit more intense, then start with something a bit lighter and build up that physical condition so that you can do something more intense
mm,
after a while. Because trying to go from 0 to 100, we definitely don't recommend. If you want to go from 0 to 1, 1 to 5, build up that, um, build that, build a program to get to there, and in a way that suits your body. It's really hard for us to give a one size kind of fits all answer and say yes or no, because we don't really know the person. But generally speaking, if you do have hypertension and you do worry about joining something as intensive as rugby, then start
mm,
something lighter, something, yeah.
mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's a good point Alicia made as well, that if you're whatever it is, if you're nervous about something, you're worried about something on yourself, within yourself, then you're going to struggle to really get into the activity anyway, because it's on your mind. So just for your mental benefits, I would get it checked so that you're not more prone to injury, because you're thinking about it, therefore you're not
Mm,
concentrating. So I think that's a good point. If it's on your mind, get it seen to. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks, Cecily. And can you tell us what are your tips to get active and healthy?
Yes, we can. So I'll build on one that Alicia said there, which is to start slow. If you're been a little while out, or maybe this is something that's quite new for you, don't push yourself really quickly to go to a rugby training session and expect to kind of get all the benefits straight away, because you might hurt yourself. It's quite dangerous. Start slow. Start with looking at beginner stuff on YouTube or the internet or something, or little stretches, little things you can just do yourself with no equipment, that sort of thing.
Mm,
And then eventually, I think as a target, if you can aim for sort of 30 minutes a day of being active, I put it in sort of finger quotes like that, because that could just be 20 minutes of walking followed by 10 minutes in the evening of maybe just a little stretch or something. So 30 minutes is kind of a good number to aim for, but at your level, right? So gently or kind of slowly. Random ones for me are my tips. I always try to take the stairs when I can. Hong Kong is always escalators and elevators, right? I
yeah.
always have to stop myself getting in a lift or getting on the escalators and walking instead. Even walking down the stairs, rather than waiting for the lift, walking down instead. And in terms of healthy, something I try to do a lot of is to drink loads of water. Drink loads of water, especially as it's so hot. It's so easy to forget to drink water, but whatever you're drinking, drink more of it, because none of us are drinking enough water, right? So I think just drink loads of water. That's really good for everything, for our skin, for every part of us. But yeah, they're my tips. Start slow, 30 minutes, take the stairs, drink loads of water.
Okay.
And I
Thanks for
think
the great tips.
yeah, the thing about starting slow,
Mhm.
that's also important to understand, is also about being realistic about where
Mhm.
you are at right now. Because if you try to set too or try to be too ambitious or try to set too high of a goal, you will just set yourself up for failure, and you'll end up hating it or not
Mm.
enjoying it. I mean, the important thing about sports or anything that you're doing is really that you might hate it in the moment, but you feel good afterwards, or you enjoy it. You enjoy the pain, or you enjoy, you have to find some enjoyment in it
Mhm.
in order for it to be long lasting. So I think it's important to set something that's realistic. If, for example, you can't, I don't know, do a push up, then work towards being able to do one full push up, to not use your knees to go to a full push up, go from one to two to three. If you can do a squat, you start from one to two to three. But it's also important to think about, am I doing it in the correct form,
Mhm.
and that. And the other thing I think that is um, really important, which is also kind of why I like to do it with other people, is when you go with other people. There's a little bit of a motivational or kind of accountability factor, so
Mhm.
that once you get started, you always have someone to go with you, and you can support each other through making progress. If someone's just having a bad day, because we all have bad days, we all sometimes
Mhm.
get out of bed on the wrong side.
Mhm.
Sometimes we
Yeah.
sleep and we wake up and our neck hurts, whatever those things. But having um, at least one person who starts with you, who's there to check in on you, even ask you,
Mhm.
how are you feeling? How are you doing through all of these sports? Can be a great source of encouragement to stick through something. So I think, that's, there's that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Alicia. Yeah, it's great to have someone to motivate and encourage you and to hold you accountable. Yeah.
Well, not accountable, like, why didn't you do this today? And then you get
Okay.
scolded
Yeah.
about it.
Accountable.
No, nothing like that. It's just like
Yeah,
like
that's
we're
right.
saying, it's just more to keep you accountable, to encourage you. So if
Encourage
you have a
you.
bad day and you wanted to do, I don't know, something for 10 minutes, but you end up doing five, it's about
Mhm.
understanding where where maybe the challenge or the difficulty was, and identifying something to change that, or to provide a solution to do something next time.
And yeah, another question we received was about the 10,000 steps. Is it true that they have to meet the 10,000 steps requirement to for them to say that they're fit?
To say that.
No, that's a lot. It's not true.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the number that people put out, right? The sort of the
Mhm.
watches, or the general guidelines are
Yeah.
10,000 steps, which is quite a lot of walking. On some days you'll find yourself doing 15,000 steps very
Mhm.
easily. On other days you'll find yourself doing 4,000, thinking you've walked a lot more. So I think rather than looking at steps, I'd probably look at the time instead. If you're gonna use numbers, so rather than going for 10,000 steps, maybe try to aim for being moving for 20 minutes, or moving for 30 minutes,
Mm.
rather
Yeah.
than the steps, because they're not always that accurate, our little devices, and being, yeah, it's just a guideline figure anyway, so don't worry too much about the 10,000.
But
Okay.
it's also like, I mean, it's time is one thing, but you can also think about intensity. It might be better to do like a minute of jumping jacks on the spot,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Mhm.
rather than 10,000 steps. I mean, it really depends on the context. But for example, if I am just slow walking 10,000 steps, but by doing a minute of jumping jacks, I can get my heart rate up more. I mean, sometimes that has more benefit.
Yeah, and speaking of heart rate, that's also one of the questions we received. She's asking about if it's important and what exactly is heart rate and why is it important to meet that?
What
What
exactly
is
is
the
heart
heart
rate?
rate like, and why is it important to meet a target heart rate, to meet your target heart rate when you do sports or when you engage in any exercise?
Yeah,
So
I think
yeah.
it kind of comes back to intensity, like what Alicia was saying, right? So
Mhm.
if you're doing more cardio kind of workouts, like you're running or you're doing maybe like a high intensity little interval training, then your heart rate will naturally go up.
Mhm.
And that means that your body's working hard, right? I don't know of the figures exactly of what percentage is good. Obviously, we don't want to go too high. We don't want it to be too low. But yeah, getting your heart rate up. I don't know. Maybe Alicia will know the numbers a bit better than me, or the guidelines. But generally, if your heart rate is going, then things are moving quicker in your body. Things are happening, and that's good.
I think that her question is more about the importance, because she says that she often reads that it's important to get your heart rate up, and why is it important?
Okay. Okay. Okay, I think I was trying to understand the question. It's because most of us have I don't know if you know that there's a resting heart rate. There's a heart rate that you have, for example, when you're sleeping, your heart slows down.
Mhm.
When you're walking and you still take a rest, you still have a resting heart rate,
Yeah.
a good one. Um,
Mhm.
for some athletes, it's maybe in the 40s per minute. For
Mhm.
maybe a normal person it's like 60, 70. But it's good to get your heart rate up a bit, but um, into the 120s, 130s because it helps you to pump more blood and oxygen. So when your blood has oxygen, so it helps you to pump more
Mhm.
oxygen around your body. So and it helps you when you helps your circulation, but it also helps you to become more efficient at
Mhm.
burning energy, using your muscles, and kind of, yeah. So it's kind of more related to that. I think
Mhm.
you could get really technical if you wanted, but yeah,
Yeah.
mostly it's good to alter the heart rate and have um, different. I'm trying to think of an analogy actually, um, but yeah, I hadn't thought of one. But
Yeah, thanks again. And before we ask my last question, because I think it's almost time for us to wrap up, and it's getting late for you guys. So I'm just going to screen some of our viewers. We have Dana, Alia, and Marianne, and Winnie. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Good evening. And yes, if you have questions, please feel free to post it in the comments. And again, we have Alicia and Cecily from Women in Sports Empowered HK. And yeah, we're talking about women empowerment through sports. So yeah, I think it's now time to slowly come to an end. Do you have any last piece of advice or concluding words you'd like to share with our community?
Um, I think most of my advice has been shared, but I think one thing is that if you are new to sports and physical activity and exercise, I think just understand that it's a really long journey, your journey in sports and your journey in exercise, and all the benefits that we've talked about today and all the things that Alicia and I have taken from sports. These have happened over months and years, a long time. So if you start your sporting journey tomorrow, then you're not going to wake up on Saturday feeling all of the benefits that we've mentioned. It's a long journey, but it's a great journey. You'll learn a lot about yourself and make new friends, and it's ever changing. Your interests will change. You'll get new benefits. One week you'll really feel physical benefits. The next week you might really feel the mental benefits. So it's a journey, and just enjoy it, and do it safely as well, I guess.
Thanks, Cecily.
Yeah, I think what Sis is saying is right, and it's also um, there's no need to compare yourself to other people. There's no need to really say someone else is doing this, so I must be able to do the same as them. It's really more about, as Sis is saying, your own journey and thinking about how it fits into your current lifestyle situation, living environment, the kind of work you have to do on a daily basis. But it's really just thinking about self-development. I mean, I guess for you, Jenly, and the Uplifters community is all about learning. A lot is about gaining new skills, gaining new mindset, or strengthening the mindset. So sports really does help with that. And I guess for me, I always think of sports for me is just about being a healthy person at the end of the day. I mean, your last question was around tips to get active and healthy. And I don't always have the best eating habits. I don't have a great diet, truthfully, but I can try make up for it in other ways, mostly through physical. Like, it's by no means a replacement, but at least for me, it's not like I have a poor diet and I don't exercise. Like, I can have a not so good diet, but at least if I exercise or play sports, it's not so bad. Yeah. I probably shouldn't admit that I have a poor diet, but I do.
It's okay. Yes, thank you so much for your time, Alicia and Cecily. And it was a very informative and inspiring session. But yeah, before we end our broadcast, let's do our evening ritual together. And this is a simple ritual that we're doing in our free online course, Dare to Dream. And this is one of the best habits that you can create in your life. And to our viewers, please feel free to share with us your 3 things that made you happy today too. Yes, can you share with us the 3 things that made you happy today? I think we can start with who wants to start first.
The first one that
you're
came to my
asking
mind
us?
was the first. Oh, are you asking us?
Yes, both of you.
The first one that came to my mind, and I said it to Alicia today on the phone, was the sunshine made me happy today. I was so happy to see the sun after what felt like a couple of weeks of rain. That's my first thought, sunshine. Maybe you go next. I'll think of my other one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying this just because I'm on this live stream, but being on this live stream does make me very happy. Even though I don't personally get to meet the people who are watching, it does make me very happy that you're watching this. And I don't know if you appreciate this video or not, but the fact that you're watching this makes me very happy because it makes me feel like you care about yourself, and I think that's very important.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I'll echo that one as well and say, I think anytime Alicia and I get to talk about what we love and what we do, it makes us happy as well. So definitely that, and also being able to share and be here with everyone this evening. And I thought of my third one. It's a little bit related to the sunshine, but I had ice cream today. I bought myself an ice cream because that's so hot. So I thought, yeah, I'm gonna have ice cream. That made me really happy because it was so lovely.
Yeah. And anytime I'm chatting to Sis on a webinar, podcast, or some kind of show, we're always
Mhm.
laughing. So laughing is really
I
good
can
for
see
us.
that.
That makes me happy.
Yeah.
This is the most enthusiasm I've had at 10:41 for a long time. So
Oh, that makes me happy. Yeah, and that's my first joy. I think that's my ultimate. My first joy
Yeah.
for today is to have you both in this broadcast and to have you as our guest for tonight. Thank you very very much for sharing your tips, your advice, your knowledge with our community, and really appreciate your time. And my second joy for me, I had my favorite chocolate. I have a sweet tooth,
Yay.
so yeah, just small things like that. And yeah, it's perfect weather today, so glad it's no longer raining.
Yeah,
Hopefully, it will
definitely.
continue. Yes, but
yeah.
it's we are so happy. We are very thankful to you that you are here with us tonight for this episode on women empowerment through sports. So yeah, I think that's for to everyone who's watching. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Alicia and Cecily, and we have covered a lot of questions, and your insights and advice are certainly very helpful. So yeah, thank you, everyone. Just we have Liz. She says hello, uh, Elise, and we
Bye.
have thank you so much for the wonderful night from Mary
Oh,
Grace.
thank
Oh,
you. That's so
thanks so much
nice.
for joining.
Okay, so yeah, thank you again, everyone, for watching, and thank you, Alicia and Cecily.
Thank
So
you,
good
Thanks,
night,
Jenny.
Jen. Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Thanks so much.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Do we just